Welcome to the channel, people. If you're new here, I'm Brandi, and today we are making wood decor using this 4x4 for your home. I paid $23 for this one piece, and we're going to start out by placing on our miter saw and cutting it into the sections we need for these DIYs. Now, I call this a triangle measuring tool. I think it's called a speed square. I even think it has a different name on top of there. What's it say? Rafter square. It's got measuring pieces on there. It fits on things perfectly to help you measure in cases like this. Buy one. They're inexpensive, especially if you have a miter saw. It'll make your life a little bit easier. Call it whatever makes you fuzzy inside. It's my measuring triangle. Now, for this first DIY, this is the only part I am going to show you me actually cutting. I'm just trying to let y'all see, like, I'm really doing this. Me really doing it. That's my big head popping in and out of the frame. It's really me cutting it. Nobody else. I'm actually hand making these items. I am not going to make you watch me cut every single thing that I do for these DIYs. But here's what we have here for this first one. It is 3.2 inches big. And to start off, we're going to mix this antique parchment and white with a little bit of water to give this a faux bleach wood look. Now, recently I had a subby make a comment about, could I do more of a tutorial style? I guess I can get a little flashy with the editing and I'm a little speedy. That's just because I'm trying to, stay on point with what's going on and don't dilly-dally. But you will notice in this video, I slow it down just to go a little bit. This is about as tutorial-ish if I can get. So if for those of you who want me to slow it down more, I don't know if I'm capable of it. This is what I got. So as you can see, I'm still showing y'all how I just basically whitewash that. And I'm using a tumbling tower block for it to sit on and just dry so it's not touching anything. Once it dried, I'm taking a little tiny bit of the white and just doing the center. This is all going to make sense as we go along, but you don't want to cover the whole thing. You're just going to do the center of your sections. So this way, once we put our laser print paper on here, it's going to really look like that piece, belongs in the center and everything else is faded out. If it's too dark for you, please feel free, like I'm doing here with the paper towel, use it to wipe some off. My paintbrush does not listen to me or care about my feelings and just rolls everywhere. It feels like going. Let that dry about 20 minutes and then bring in your Mod Podge. It doesn't matter which sheen, just pick a sheen. Doesn't matter. Now take your laser prints you printed out from your laser jet printer. Cut them up, make sure that they're measured, all this stuff. I made these myself. Well, not really. I used CANVA. I picked the images, I put them in the CANVA thing, and then I printed it out on a LaserJet printer on a single piece of paper. That's how I did this. But the whole idea I created, yes. You're going to cut them all up in pretty little sections, and then we are going to just place them down where you want them in the middle of the white. Make sure they're as centered as you possibly can get them, and then let this dry overnight, or at least 6 to 8 hours with fan blaring on it. Do not, for those of you who are impatient like me, I know it's hard. Listen, I feel your struggle. I feel your pain. But let this dry, people. Please let it dry. Then use whatever makes you fuzzy inside. A sponge. I'm using a paper towel. Rag would work. Put some water on it. It does not matter if it's cold or hot. It does not matter. I probably wouldn't use hot water though. Just, come on. Put some lukewarm water in a bowl. Little bit of wetness. Then we're going to just press it on our little transfer and then rub. Be careful not to rub too much, because you're going to rub off your little, we don't want to do that. We don't want to rub off the transfer. We're just going to rub it down to the last layer. Now, for this, I did not care if it got a little bit messy because it's supposed to be vintage. That's the style of this. That's how I was going. I really like making rustic vintage looking things. It is definitely an aesthetic that I am a huge fan of. But as you can see, these are stunning. Like, how beautiful are these coming out? I simply love them. And just listen, I know for those of you that are like, I'm trying to do this tutorial-ish, so we're slowing it down, okay? So you're seeing more. You know, I'm just trying to be a little repetitive here, you know, stay on, you know, making sure I'm explaining this properly. And you're going to continue with the whole block and rub, 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 okay? Once you have it all rubbed off to the point that you are happy with your transfer, then you are going to just get all your little bits, get all the crusty bits off of everything, because once you're happy with it, you don't want to seal it with the Mod Podge. This is a little, I don't know, it's a little rough coarse sponge that I got from Dixie Belle. It's, I don't know, it's got like a roughish outside, you know, and then I'm just using it to kind of get all the little crusty bits off and making sure that it's all nice and smooth before I apply my sealer. However, before we throw our sealer on here, I like to add some accents. Accents are like my favorite thing to do. Like, they're the thing I like to do after it's kind of finished and you could really leave it alone the way that it is, but then you feel like you got to take it one extra step and you can't control yourself. You got to just put something on there even if it doesn't really need it. That's my favorite part. So I put a little bit of Antique Waverly wax in some water just to kind of dim it down so it wasn't so dominant and dark, and give this more of a wood grain feel around the edges to really bring out that laser cut in the white and make it look very blended, and finished it up with some distressing. For these beautiful wood pillars, you can, if you're going to create them, cut them whatever size makes you fuzzy inside. It doesn't really matter. Just pick the size and cut it. You do the same thing. You can do them shorter or taller or whatever, you know, buzz it down and get your, you know, beautiful wood pillars. That's, you know, that's what we're doing here. Rustic, you know, wood. These are actually boho modern rustic, okay? Listen, you know, I gotta have at least 3 names or it doesn't count, okay? Anyhow, I'm using my Dixie Belle paint and cotton and painting the entire thing of both pillars the same exact color. I purchased this stencil off of Amazon and I'm going to use my plaid paints to create this look. You can use washi tape for this if you want. I have painter's tape handy, so I'm just going to take my painter's tape and center this as best as I can, and then start sectioning off pieces with the painter's tape that I don't plan on painting. I'm not going to paint the whole thing. We're going to be very detailed with this. We do not want to just blot, blot, blot everywhere, because, you know, that's not the style I'm going for, people. You paint your pillar how you want to paint it, but this is how I'm doing it. Anyhow, you're going to want to start off tossing a layer of Mod Podge on there, or you could have used your, you know, I could have used the Dixie Belle cotton. This is going to help stop any bleeding underneath of the stencil. Now, for something like this, I like to use my blot method, and I cut down a chippy brush because the stencils that I had, I wasn't very happy with. They shed a lot, and apparently so do these. So, lots of shedding. Like a ridiculous amount of paintbrush shedding. Thank you, chippy brushes I purchased from Home Depot. I appreciate you. Anyhow, I'm gonna pretend like this is just not awful. So, once this dried and I got past my struggle with with the paintbrush falling apart. You take a paintbrush that's not going to fall apart on you that is tiny, and you take your colors and then just start highlighting in sections that make you happy. I like to kind of blend if I can, and then be detailed in certain sections. This is all about your creativeness and what you feel looks good. There's no right or wrong with this at all. When I was finished with my painting and my tiny details with the paintbrush, I then just brought in the dotting tool and switched up my colors and used some blacks and some lighter cream, and it was probably the antique parchment color that I was using, and just started putting little dots everywhere just to bring out some more personality in this stencil. Now, in a normal video, this is where I would completely cut this and go to where I'm peeling it off. But since I'm trying to do this more tutorial-ish, I am going to give you some more details and just going to let it ride for a second. And then we're going to peel it off. Here we go. Okay. Now we're peeling this off. And then I did the small pillar in a tinier little section the same exact way. Just the center. And look at that. Look at it. Unbelievable. Still just For all of you who are scared of the power tool situation, it's gonna go a little scary, but we're gonna get through this together. You're gonna need all this stuff. You see all this stuff? We're gonna need it all. Don't make me go through each piece. Take a mental note, okay? Take a mental note and let's move on. I needed a base for this. We are making a coffee cup holder that is a very modern rustic style. You're going to need a base, and then you're going to need 4 cubes. Okay, 4 cubes. You will need to find the center of your base and your cubes, and you're going to need to make sure that you attach them to something and clamp them down to drill holes in the center. For each hole, we're going to cut down a dowel and put in there on each side, so this way we have like an attach. Now, if you want, you could do the whole thing all the way through, drop a dowel completely solid straight down the center of it. I'm not doing that. I don't have that kind of patience. I don't have that kind of hand strength. I don't want to do it. So I drilled a hole at the bottom and the top of all the squares, and just the top of the base and the bottom of the very top block. Does that make sense? I hope so. You're about to see what we're doing here. Take your wood glue and lather it all up on the base. We're going to still have, of course, more paintbrush pieces. Anyhow, this is a new brush too, by the way. Anyhow, okay, put your little dowel in there and make sure, okay, a little tip as well, and I think I show this in a little bit. If it's loose, your dowel's loose, take a little bit of sawdust and shove down in that hole. You know, it's going to fill it up. You know, if there's any gaps in your wood, sprinkle it like it's fairy dust, okay? Sprinkle the sawdust. Don't be afraid of it. You know, sprinkle it down. It's going to fill up them gaps. It's going to soak up all that wood glue. It's going to work fabulous, man. I took this thing and I banged it on my table when it was all said and done. It's good. I continued putting in the dowel for each one just to make sure we had good connections. I like to make sure whenever I build stuff that it's as good as I think I can possibly get it. This is what it looked like when it was completely finished. And once it dried 24 hours, let it dry 24 hours. Be patient. I know it's rough. I know. We're going to take Dixie Belle's drop cloth and do 2 coats over the entire piece, and that's really all you need. This paint is like butter. It works, you know, there's no question about it. This is one of my favorites. It's so easy to use. It has, when it's sealed, when it's like dry, it's like a seal too, like it's hard to scratch. I love it. Anyhow, why is that Gildan wax in there? Oh, I forgot the top. Look at this. So I got these at Hobby Lobby on clearance for 99 cents. Okay, they're so cute. I take the gilding wax and then just kind of get it in all the little colors. And the reason I did this as well is because the hooks that we're going to put on here, they're black. So I'm giving it, you know, that modern look with like a little bit of a rustic touch, and felt like this really worked. So to get the top on, yeah, of course that just breaks off. And this is a little trick. If you can take your little, you know, knob or whatever and measure it next to your bit like that, and then you can just tape off where you need to go, and then you just drill down till you hit the tape, and you know it's gonna fit in the hole. Once you're all done doing that, I then, to make sure it's not going anywhere, because you can see it's a little loose, I'm going to push, this is where I'm pushing some of that in there, and then take my Gorilla Glue. I like using Gorilla Glue, or E6000 will work as well. It's a good glue whenever you're using like wood and metal. I would not recommend using wood and glue on wood and metal, but you know, you guys do whatever makes you fuzzy inside. Who am I to tell you how you should be crafting? You know, just take what I use and show you and remix it, you know, to whatever works for you. To install our hooks, you're going to need a drill bit, and get a drill bit that is just about the size of your screw, and then mark your spots. You know, they don't have to be exact, just eyeball it to where you think you want them, especially for this, because we're going, you know, it's a little rustic, doesn't need to be perfect. Plus, I'm doing them in different spots. I'm not putting them all in the center or all in the top. I'm doing like every other one, up, down, up, down. Well, not completely down, middle, okay? Up and middle, up and middle. And then I use my hand to put them in, so I do not split the wood. You're welcome to use a drill if you want, but be careful, because if you do it too hard, it will split the wood. And then I seal this with my easy peasy wax. As always, people, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you got some entertainment, some learning out of these beautiful handmade wood DIY decor items. Until next time, bye! I thought you would all love to see all this. Look at this. Like, that is everything I pulled out of these chippy brushes in this video. Like, wow. Seriously? Also, there was supposed to be 4 DIYs in this video. I was going to make a tea light, like a long block tea light holder, and I was struggling with these bits. I don't know why. I have definitely used these things before. It was probably because it was like 106 degrees outside and I had sweat in my eyes, because it worked for this, like, no problem. Like, look at this beautiful little hole. It came out just absolutely perfect for this tiny little baby tea light holder that I'm making. And I went and, you know, double checked to make sure it went in there just perfectly. Oh, yeah, I was filming 2 videos at once. This video is coming out in a couple weeks.